Who's ready for a little yoga? Okay, today we're doing a maybe like 30 to 45 minute session that is focusing on opening up the heart and twisting out detoxing from our most vulnerable area, which is our stomach. And all of the organs that we host here, there's no bones to protect them, right? Here we have our ribs, but then there aren't bones that protect our organs. So this oftentimes is an area where we hold a lot of emotions like anger and grief and fear. So we're going to work on twisting and purifying some of those organs today, and also opening up the heart. And of course, an open heart is a heart that is compassionate, is joyful, and is grateful. So, some oils for today. Joy, first and foremost. And if you don't have joy, my goodness, do you need joy? So joy is already an oil that I put on every day. Joy over the heart chakra, which is the center of the chest, and just rub that in. Smells so good. Any excess I just kind of pretty much put everywhere. Okay, so joy, targeting the heart chakra, already starting with that mentality of opening up the heart. Other option, if you have like a lemon, which came in your starter kit, could be great to put on the belly, either here, about 2 inches below the belly button, or above the belly button, any area here. But I have light the fire, so I'm going to use that. But you also could do something like a cinnamon or maybe even a peppermint. But I am going to light my fire. And the reason why is that this is the area where we house like our ego and our identity. It's with the fire that's within us. So if you read Rosie's post, her blog post, it's all about how in summertime it's a time for yang, which is active and sweating. So that's pretty much how our yoga practice is going to go today. So you want that inner fire alongside with you to kind of push you and propel you through. So that's what we've got. If you have DiGize, also set that aside. We're going to use that actually at the end of class as kind of a way to calm the fire that's in our tummies. So go ahead and put your oils to the side. If you have a blanket handy, that could be great. If you have yoga blocks, you can go ahead and use those. If not, not a big deal. Sometimes a book might work, but oftentimes we use them just to bring the floor closer to us, because if this isn't something that's accessible to you, this might be. So, and there's no judgment. It doesn't mean that you're not flexible and therefore you're not doing yoga. No one cares about flexibility. Okay, this is totally all about you. So release all other expectations and come to your mat. So first things first, we're going to start with some breath work, and this is called breath of fire. I like to sit up on something. It's nice to elevate the hips, so I'm sitting on just a folded blanket, so nothing too particular. Now, breath of fire is also called Kapalabhati breath, and it's quite popular in Kundalini yoga. And what it is a forced exhale through the nose, and then it's a passive inhale. Essentially, the exhale has such power behind it that the inhale is just a natural response. But it's a rapid breath, and so why don't I just show you? And I'm going to try and show you from the side so you can see what it is that I'm talking about, okay? So, you inhale through the nose and exhale. And I'm not pressing my stomach outwards with the inhale. It's completely natural and passive. So all the work is in the exhale and bringing that, your belly button towards your spine is the mentality, and then letting the air naturally fill the stomach back up, okay? So let's try this again as just a test, okay? Okay, so that's what it looks like. If you've never done this before, is it going to feel a little strange? Yes, but we're all in it together. Now, you may also experience maybe some little friends flying out. If you're doing yoga alone, then no one's looking. Okay, but that does sometimes happen, so just, I guess, expect the unexpected. Okay, so getting into your comfortable seat, sitting on your sit bones. Hands can be somewhere comfortable on your knees, or alternatively, can be very helpful to have one hand on your stomach and another hand placed underneath the nose, just as a mind-body connection of what the breath work is doing, so you can feel that breath coming out, okay? So we're going to do a couple rounds of this, and I'm actually going to set my timer. We're going to do this for 30 seconds, okay? And there's going to be patches where it's kind of, it may be difficult, but we're all going to get through it together. Okay, getting comfortable. One hand on the stomach, 2 fingers under the nose, inhaling together to start, exhaling gently together. Now this inhale will be to start, okay? Inhaling together, and go. Okay, keep going with your breath. I'll tell you when we've reached our 30 seconds, but keep bringing that belly button to the spine and have the passive inhale. Okay, we're almost through the 30 seconds. Keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. Okay, so that's breath of fire. We're going to go through that one more time, but this time we're going to expand it to 60 seconds, okay? So take a deep breath now and let it all go. We're going to go through that one more time. This next inhale is to begin, okay? Inhale, feeling your stomach expand into your hand. Exhale to begin. Okay, great. Keep going. I'm going to talk you through a little bit more. Okay, so those exhales are bringing the belly button back to touch the spine, almost like you're tapping the spine with your belly button. And the inhale is a passive release. Okay, but taking mind of the shoulders not creeping up to the ears while you're doing this. Bring the shoulders down, trying to be as relaxed as possible while you're activating this breath of fire. Okay, we're more than halfway through. If it helps you to close your eyes, do so. Maybe visualize a pit of fire in your stomach. And you could even increase your pace if you want to. Okay, you guys are doing great. Coming close to the end. 3, 2, 1, and release. Really good job. Okay, now that we've kind of made a connection with our breath, we're going to start to get into our bodies just a little bit. So let's come back up, and we're going to actually come to the top of our mat. Okay, coming to the top of our mat, we're going to go through a couple series of forward bends. So, first things first, I'm going to face you so it's a little bit easier. But you want to have your toes touching. Heels are slightly apart, maybe about a thimble width apart. And we're going to start with stacking the body. Okay, so our hips are over our feet, shoulders over our hips. Roll the shoulders back, maybe to start, feeling the shoulder blades kind of compressing on the back behind, almost meeting like a set of wings. Hands are extended. There's life and there's energy in your hands, okay? Not just here, but here. Intentionally, actively sending energy down through just the fingertips. This is called Tadasana, or mountain pose. And you also, as a check, we oftentimes have our chin up. Take a second and tuck your chin ever so slightly. Okay, taking a moment here, inhaling and exhaling out the mouth. Okay, continuing our breath work. Inhaling, bringing the arms up over the head. Exhaling, forward bend. Okay, so we're forward bend here. Inhaling up to a flat back. Exhaling forward once more. And again, you can always bring the floor closer to you, whatever height of the object that you have that helps. Inhale once again. Exhale, release, forward bend. Inhale again, once more. Flat back, thinking of extending, lengthening the head and the whole spine. Exhale, folding forward, creasing ever so slightly at the stomach, which serves as a little mini internal organ massage. Let's do one last one. It just feels too good. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward bend. Really nice job. Place any props or things that you might have off of the mat. Go ahead and come back up once more. Inhaling, lifting the hands up over the head. Exhaling, coming back to your mountain pose. Is that it? Is it over yet? No, I don't think so. We're just getting started. So coming into what looks like a tabletop. And again, our hands. Placing our hands down on the mat where our shoulders are directly over our wrists. Okay? You don't want this and you don't want this. You want your shoulders to be over your wrists, and that is safety. Is a safety alignment so that you're not putting too much or an improper amount of weight onto your wrists. Okay? So coming here, and again, same thing, your bum is your knees, so you don't want to be back here or too far forward. All right, we're in all fours. Knees are about hips width apart. We're going to go through some cat-cow stretches. So when we inhale, we look upwards, inhaling like a cow. No one's ever told me that. I feel like no one's ever said that in a yoga class before. And exhale like a cat, rounding the spine like that classic Halloween cat crossing the road. Inhaling, looking up, bringing your gaze to the ceiling. Exhaling, bringing the gaze to your belly button. Inhaling, gaze up towards the ceiling. Exhaling towards the belly button. Let's do one more. Inhaling up towards the ceiling. Exhaling, bringing your gaze towards your belly button, really exaggerating that stretch. All right, from here, we're simply going to untuck our toes behind us. My headset's falling off. Untuck our toes and place some weight into our feet as we push our hips back, coming into a downward dog. Okay, so a downward dog is pretty foundational for yoga. And there's a lot that you can talk about here in terms of alignment. Now, I happen to be quite flexible, but most people may not experience that same thing. So you may not have your feet all the way down on the mat. You may be here with your heels up, and that's okay. That's downward dog too. Okay? So in your downward dog,
The aim is to try to get your heels down, but again, don't force anything. Only do what's right for you. Here in your downward dog, take a moment to realize if your shoulders, again, are creeping up to your ears. Release them away from your ears and down your back. Actively engage your hands. Okay, your fingers are spread out, all 5 fingers spread out on the mat. Actively engaged, pressing the fingertips into the floor and breathing here. And again, you can have your gaze kind of in between your feet at the back of your mat. Inhaling here. Exhale. Inhale here once again. Exhale. Now, let's slowly walk our toes to the front of the mat. And from here, inhaling to that flat back we did before. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhale, this time swan dive up. Bring the hands up, 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 up over the head. Inhale, exhale, release the hands down and find yourself back into your mountain pose. Okay, now we're about to heat things up. We start once again that same foundation of our mountain pose. So, big toes together, heels are slightly apart, about a thimble's width apart. Shoulders are slightly back and down away from the ears. Energy going through our fingers. Chin is slightly tucked, and thinking always of this contrasting polarity of the feet grounding down and yet the spine rising up to the heavens. Okay? I will guide you through, and we're going to go through this sun salutation a couple times. So if you don't get it necessarily the first time, that's okay, and just follow along as you can. Okay, but this is a yang series, so we're going to try to make you sweat. Okay? Here we go. Inhaling, arms come up over the head. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling once again to flat back halfway. Exhale, bringing it down. Hands to the ground. Right foot back, left foot back to meet it. Coming back into our downward dog. We were just here. And we're going to stay here for 5 breaths. Inhaling. 1. Inhaling 2. Inhaling 3. Dropping the shoulders away from the ears. Inhale 4. Thinking about pushing your feet away from your hands and your hands away from your feet. Inhaling 5. Exhale. Now on this exhale, come forward into your plank. Okay, shoulders again over your wrists. And then your elbows bend backwards, coming halfway. You see a 90-degree angle in my hands, my elbows. You can flip then your feet at the back of the mat, coming up into an upward facing dog. Inhale here. Exhale. Down dog. You can walk your feet to the top of the mat. Inhaling to a flat back. Exhale, release. Inhale, swan dive up to the top of the mat. And exhale, back to our famous mountain pose. We're going to go through that once again. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, flat back, folding forward. Inhale, flat back halfway. Exhale, releasing down to the floor. Right leg back, left leg to meet it. Coming back into our downward dog. Staying here for 5 breaths. Inhale 1. Inhale 2. Inhale 3. Pressing the mat away, your feet and your arms. Thinking of that polarity. Exhale, inhale 4. Inhale 5. On this exhale, coming back into your plank pose, watching my elbows as they bend backwards to a 90-degree angle. Inhaling, unhooking the toes, coming into our upward facing dog. Exhale, back to downward facing dog. And again, you can walk your feet just like we did last time, or you can bend your knees, look in between your hands, and hop in between your hands. Coming to the top of the mat, inhaling to a flat back halfway once more. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, bringing arms up over the head. And exhale, back to our mountain pose. Once again, inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, flat back. Inhale, flat back halfway. Exhale, hands down to the ground, right foot back, left foot to meet it. Downward dog, 5 counts. Once again, inhale. And exhale, 1. Inhale. Exhale, 2. Thinking about driving the heels towards the ground. Inhale. Exhale, 3. Checking your hips to see that they are slightly pointed towards your heels. Inhale once more. Almost the last one here. Exhale. Release the head. Inhale. Give it a shake. On this next exhale, once again, coming up onto your toes first, almost like that propels you forward into your plank. Watching as my elbows bend backwards 90 degrees. Don't go any further than that. Unflip your toes. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, coming back to our downward facing dog. Again, you can tippy toe your feet up towards the mat or give your knees a bend, look in between your hands, and give it a jump, landing quietly. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, forward. Inhale, swan dive up. And exhale, mountain pose. Take a moment here. Maybe catch your breath. It's time for sun salutation B. Ready? Inhale. Arms up overhead. Exhale, coming into our chair pose. Okay, taking a look at this chair pose. What chair pose is. Chair pose is not this. Chair pose is not this. Chair pose is knees bent, looking down and being able to see your toes. If you can't see your toes, then you're too far. So bring your hips back so that you can see your toes. Ideally, you should be able to lift your little piggly wigglies up off the ground. Okay? You want your pelvis to be pointed towards the ground, and our arms are by our ears. So yes, you will be feeling this and you will be sweating. Inhale here. Exhale, forward bend. Really good job. Inhale, flat back once more halfway. Exhale, forward bend. Both legs come back to the back of your mat into a downward dog. Inhale, bring the right foot forward. And come up into our high lunge. Inhale here. And exhale, bring the hands back down. Right leg meets the left at the back of the mat. And then we'll go once again into our chaturanga. Bending the elbows 90 degrees. Untuck the toes, upward facing dog. And back to our downward dog. Inhale, bring the left foot forward. Exhale, arms up. Inhale here. Exhale, bring the hands down to frame the foot once again. This time, left foot back, coming up once again into our plank. Coming down through our chaturanga, halfway 90 degrees. Upward facing dog. Exhale. Whew. And again, looking up to between our hands, stepping or jumping lightly. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, swan dive up. And exhale,
hands down. Again, inhale, hands up, framing the ears. Exhale, coming back down into our chair pose. Let's do our check. Look down. Can you see your toes? Yes. Is the pelvis pointed towards the ground? Yes. Arms are framing the ears. Great. Sit here. 2 breaths. 1. Exhale. 2. Inhale. Exhale. Fold forward. Really good job. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Bring both legs back to the edge of the mat to our downward dog. Inhale, right leg in between the hands. Exhale, lift the hands up. Inhale, exhale, hands back down to frame the foot, right foot back. Inhale, left foot forward in between the hands. Exhale, bring the hands up. Inhale for 1. Exhale for 1. Coming back down, hands framing the foot, left foot back to meet the right. And again, stepping or hopping to the front of your mat. Inhale, flat back halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, swan dive up. And exhale, Tadasana, mountain pose. Woo! Ah, you feeling it? Good, because we're going to go back into our chair. Inhale, arms up, sinking down into our chair. Look at your toes. Pelvis facing the ground. Arms framing our ears. And from here, an exhale, you can bring your hands to your heart. And then we're going to twist, bringing the left elbow outside of the right knee and looking up over your right shoulder. Staying here and breathing into this twist. You will feel this in your tummy. Now, look down for a moment and see where your left knee is at. Is your left knee protruding out forward of your right knee? Bring your hip back and tuck that knee in. Okay? Bringing your gaze back up towards the ceiling if you can. Also, it's okay to look at the ground. 1 more breath. And release, folding forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale. Swan dive the arms back up. Exhale, back into our chair pose. All the same checks. See your toes, tuck the pelvis, arms at your ears. Inhale, bring the hands to the heart center. Bring the right elbow this time outside of the left knee and twist. Look down. Is that right knee jutting out? Bring your hip back. Staying here for a few more breaths. Looking up over your left shoulder. You will feel this in your tummy and your lower spine. What we're doing here is wringing out the toxins like a dishcloth. Last breath, exhale, fold forward. Woo! Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, swan dive up. Exhale. Woo. Okay. Should we do that once more? Okay. We're going to kick it up a notch. Inhale, hands up, arms framing the ears. At this point, you know what to do. And what we're going to do here is sink down, really sink down. I know it feels like that's going to hurt more, but this actually gives you a stronger base. Now, shift your weight into your left foot, almost to the point where you can easily lift your right foot off. And we're going to shoot that leg back towards the end of the mat. So now we find ourselves in a high lunge. Bringing your arms out to the side like a big, like you're going to give someone a big hug. And twist. Twist over your left shoulder. If you can, bring your gaze to your left hand. 1 more breath here. Coming back to the center. Again, start to shift your weight in your in your left foot to the point where your right comes to meet the left, back in chair pose. Yes, this should be burning. Once again, shifting your weight into your right foot this time, grounding down to the point where your left foot feels very light. Pick it up and shoot it towards the back of the mat. You now find yourself in high lunge. Again, take a check where your shoulders are at. Bring them down. Open your arms up like you're going to give someone the biggest hug of your life and twist towards the right. If you can, looking towards your right hand, breathing here. High lunge twist. Oh man, you guys are doing awesome. One last breath. And exhale, bringing that right hand up to meet the left. Bringing some of the weight back into that right foot, making the left so light and easy, up to meet the right. And forward fold. Woo! Inhale, flat back. Exhale. Whew. And you know what? Let's spread our feet just a little bit so that they're about hips width. And from here, we can grab our elbows and we can kind of just do this little swinging action. Ah, yes. You also can, for an added heart opener, grab your hands from behind you into a bind. Now, when you're binding, I mean, this is fine too. This is technically a bind, but what you're aiming for is to have your palms touching, okay? Now, that's more of a note for my more advanced yogis who have been doing this for a little while. If this is difficult, get a strap or even take your shirt off maybe if you're too sweaty for it and use that. But come to, bring your hands behind your back if you want to, and sink forward. Any type of bind like this is a really great heart opener as you're opening the front of the chest. If this is too much for you, totally fine. You can release and hold your elbows or release down to the floor, hold your ankles, doesn't matter. Give your head a shake, no. No, 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 no. And give it a nod, yes. Ah, yes. So zen. Once again, no. And a yes. And slowly, slowly, slowly crawl your way back up to standing. I'm talking vertebrae by vertebrae, slowly, 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 with the head being the very last thing. I'm talking the very last thing. Ah, okay. If you have a water, take a sip. Let's all maybe have a little sip of water. And while we do that, I have my mantra card here. So it's always good to come back to a mantra of choice. So for this class, I chose, I am grateful for this life, which is a really lovely mantra to target the heart chakra. So I'm going to have a little drink of water. So if you have maybe forgotten about your mantra or didn't have time to set an intention on a mantra to begin with, now could be a great time as you're sipping your water to connect with that. Okay, we're going to cool it down, I swear. So, one last thing. Let's come again to the top of our mats. So you'll be here, but I'll do a little visualization for you. Once again, toes are touching, heels are slightly apart. And similar to what we just did, we're going to think about lightening some of the weight. So let's think about lightening the weight in the right foot and really grounding down the left. And from here, keeping our heels really flexed, just pivoting, you know, like that bird that kind of dips its beak into water, pivoting into our warrior 3. Arms, once again, just like in chair pose, are framing the ears. And we are staying here balancing. This is a really great hip opener and a back strengthener, really using our abdomens here. And just as a note, we're not stacking the hips. Our hips are parallel, okay? One last breath here. Exhaling, bringing the foot slowly, gently back to the mat. All right, I'll do it this way now. Bringing our weight into our right foot, left comes up off the mat, and we are imagining that we're that little bird dipping our beaks into a glass of water, coming down and staying here. Now, this may be as far as you can go. This may be as far as you can go, and that's totally fine. It is about the practice. Shoulders down, hands framing the ears, arms framing the ears. Inhaling here, exhaling, hip is parallel to the ground. Last inhale, exhaling, coming up, lengthening, placing the two toes together, heels slightly apart. Exhaling the arms down. Whew. Let's do a little shoulder roll. Maybe bounce the knees out a little bit. We are really going for it. I hope you feel it. All right. Now, come to the center of your mat. Toes, instead of being parallel, we're going to slightly open our toes. Bending our knees. We want our knees to be over our heels, so not too far and not in or out, but our knees are over our heels. Getting settled here. Obviously, this is a really great hip opener. And now we're bringing in this chest opening component into our goddess pose or our female warrior. So again, thinking about the expansion. At this point, we're kind of expanding in 4 different ways, up, down, and then in each way of our arms and our legs. So sinking down, but then also rising up towards the sky, energy in the fingers. I mean, energy, like you are feeling that shooting out of your fingertips. 2 more breaths here. Maybe sink down a little bit further. Maybe a little bit further still, who knows? And exhale. Coming down. Bringing our toes back towards parallel, maybe slightly outwards. And once again, grabbing our elbows, or we can grab elbows behind our back, or we can connect our hands like so, or we can come to a prayer pose behind the back. Whatever is capable in your practice, doesn't matter which one, it's all about the process of opening. Staying here, releasing, release the hands back down, do a little slight crawl, bringing your hands back behind your feet as far as possible. And let's pivot our feet towards the left. Hop that right foot to meet the left at the top of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. And exhale, arms down, side of your body, once again in mountain pose. Okay, coming back to the center of our mat into camel pose. Camel pose is a really fabulous heart opener, which is why we're doing it. Okay, I've got my toes tucked behind me. And again, only go as far as you can. Nothing in yoga, you're forcing it, okay? So from here, bring your hands into prayer, and you start to lean backwards a bit. So you will really feel this in your hamstrings. And if this is in your practice, you may reach back to reach for your heels. And from here, then you press into those heels and lift your chest up towards the sky. Breathing here. You can also lower the neck, Release the head. Last inhale. And on this next exhale, you release one hand, bring it to the lower back, other hand to the lower back, and coming back up to camel. Now from here, why don't we go ahead and do a brief child's pose as a counter stretch. So you can either do a wide-legged child's pose or your knees can be together. I happen to prefer a wide-legged child's pose. So coming back, sitting on your heels, forehead can come to the floor. Inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling. Great. Inhaling, coming back up, and we're going to make our way onto our backs. So we're going to do bridge, and we're going to do 3 of them. So, lying on your back, you want to bring your heels so that they're slightly close to your bum to the point that you can kind of graze your heels with your fingers. From here, also, if you have a block or a pillow or something, you may want to put it aside. This could be a good pose for it. All right, so your heels are by your bum. You're going to lift your bum up off the mat, and your hands can either stay placed on the ground as something as like a counter push, or I like to bring to clasp, let's move that so you can see. I like to clasp my hands underneath me, and once you do that, you roll the shoulders under so you can get a little bit more height. Actively pressing the hands. I'm not lifting my hips, I'm pressing my hands into the floor. Head is also actively pressing into the floor, and the chin is slightly tucking. It's like your chin, it's like your head is trying to run away from your chin, and your chin is trying to run towards your chest. Breathing in here, letting go of your bum if you're clenching it. Inhale and exhale, come down. So untuck your shoulders from underneath you if they are, and slowly roll the spine to the floor. You may windshield wiper your feet or your knees, and we're going to do that again. Now, you may do that entire thing exactly the same, or you can do a more restorative version. So the more restorative version is lifting up your hips just like before, and then you put your block or your pillow or your blanket or what have you that you have underneath the sacrum. And same thing, you can just stay here. This is a little bit more restorative, a little bit more relaxing. Breathing here. One more breath. Exhaling and releasing. Now, you can do that same thing again, or if full wheel is in your practice, then follow along with me, please. Okay, so all of you bridge doers, go ahead and do your bridge. You know what you're doing at this point. For full wheel, your hands come up so that they are at your shoulder, and your elbows are not flailed out. You are tight. Everything about this, you are coming tight into the body and thinking about rising. So, hands come to the floor. And the first thing that we do, with our fingers spread out evenly, is we press a little bit of weight and we come to the top of the head. Now pause. You have weight here, so I can take my hands off if I need to. This is just a pause, and we're realigning. Now from here, we inhale. And as we exhale, we push up, thinking about pushing up. Okay? And when you're ready, you can bring your gaze in between your hands and breathe. You will feel that fire in your tummy here. We're thinking about lengthening the spine. Lengthening the spine. You want to think long and not tall for full wheel. Last breath, inhale. Exhale to follow along with me. Tuck your chin, bend your elbows slowly, bring the top of your head to the floor, and roll the spine down to the ground. Very carefully. Well done. Again, let's do a little windshield wiper to release. And let's do a little happy baby as well. Staying on your back, grabbing onto your outer feet, and giving it a roll side to side. Happy baby. This is so great as a counter stretch, especially after bridge or wheel. And you want to focus on keeping your shoulders and your hips on the ground all at once. So you are actively pulling your body down towards the ground. It's a very grounding pose. Okay, and once we're done with that, if there's anything else that you want to do that is in your practice, maybe you bring your feet over your head, and maybe you do an inversion, maybe not, maybe none of those things. You may do that now. Otherwise, we're going to work our way into Shavasana. Before we do that, before we really relax, if you have your blanket, I would ask you to prepare that now. And what we're going to do is give it a roll, because this will be underneath our knees as a support. Take your DiGize. Okay, we're ready to cool the fire. And we're going to put this on our belly and say, thanks so much. You really gave me some fire. Y'all did great. It's time to wrap it up. DiGize on the belly. Lowering our way down into a Shavasana. So you can have a blanket under your knees, another blanket maybe under your ankles, but you always want your knees to be higher than your ankles. And then from here, the last thing you do is bring your arms out to each side of you, completely releasing the legs. Your toes can be pointed out to the left and the right. Finally releasing. Slight tuck to the chin. You don't want to be having your chin towards the sky. Slight tuck to the chin. Closing the eyes and letting everything go. So close your eyes. Stay here. And I will help us to close out our class. You should be so proud of getting through this sweaty summer yang class. You should really feel so proud. It's not easy, and you made it through, and your body will thank you for it. So, I thank you for being here. You've done a gift to your body and to your mind, to your soul, to your family, to your friends, to the world, and we all thank you for it. And as we close out, come back to your mantra, your intention, maybe one last time before you really release and melt your body into the floor. I am grateful for this life. I am love, and love is me. I am one with the universe. And just release.